They can watch this anytime, can they, once it's on air?
Mm-hmm.
So where? On the town page, yeah.
I have to go fix something. Hang on.
I love it. No. One minute.
Town page right now.
Yeah.
Probably. Yeah, on the town page, it's, the center of it, you just click on that whenever we start live.
Class.
Yep.
Cool. I'm right there.
Small promotion. I'll do it tonight. That's not way too long. I can bring it out. They all, most of us gotta work tomorrow.
She can tell you too. What's that?
Okay, you're good now. You're good. Yep.
All right, 6:05, we will call the meeting. Everybody stand for the pledge of allegiance, please.
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Kim's gonna lead us in prayer real quick.
Lord, we'd like to thank you for this day. Thank you for the gathering of these town people, our friends, our family. Thank you for all your blessings. In Jesus' name, amen.
You guys will get to, special session and regular session with them. Yeah, no issue. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes from last month?
I will approve the minutes of June 10th.
26. Do I have a second? All right, everybody in favor, say aye. And the same with the claims. Everybody look at the accounts payable and payable claims. Do I have a motion to approve?
Approval of the claims.
Do I have a second? Second. Everybody in favor, say aye. Aye. All right, SIGC, wastewater treatment plant grant modification.
I just have a couple quick things tonight on the project. We have the modification, but I also have an SRF draw request, and it's in regards to May and June's invoices of Westlanders. And those three invoices total up to $13,405.80. Motion to be made for signing of that tonight. And I will get that off for payment on that.
All right.
And
Do I have a motion to approve 3 pet claims to the wrestler?
I'll make a motion to approve the 3 claims to Wesley.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Everybody in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Did you say aye? Okay, so we have 3 ayes. Are you abstaining or you?
That's just the first page. No others to sign.
Right, it's just the first one. I'll grab it in just a second.
Is it this?
Um,
SIDC's responsibility to, or Westlers, to turn in the update to. Right. So it's gonna be Westlers.
Unless,
On the progression of the project. Is there any? It's not.
right. But the meeting for the updates was canceled the first of this month.
Mhm.
So I didn't make it to see. Be a good question.
They have to turn it in.
my understanding, the water tank's been a little high around here lately with the rainfall that we've had here this spring. So it's kind of slowed things down a little bit in regards to the contract. Back when we got release of funds, with the grant funds, in the possible reward of the contract, I was going to extend the end date with the contract time on. The grant end date currently is at August 31st of this year. In that grant agreement, you can ask for an extension up to the end. So that's what we're looking at doing tonight, just because the contract time is a long period of time. Right now, I think the completion date on it is scheduled for May 13th, 2026. So extending this out would actually extend it out to the end of August 2026 on the grant. That's because we have to do the final draw and the grant close out here in the month also after some weeks.
Right.
So that is the request that, or the letter that's in front of you as the cover letter for that. I also have Madison, the engineer, doing a letter in regards to the contract and all the delays. I wanted to and stuff like that.
Okay.
To go along with that.
Well, whether those affect things. Anybody have any questions for it or vote? Do I have a motion to approve an extension through August 26th of 2026?
It will extend it for a year from this end of this end.
August
End
31st.
of August 31st to the following August 31st.
Yeah, August 31st of 2026. Do I have a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion to approve the extension until August 31st of next year.
Do I have a second?
I'll take the motion.
Everyone in favor, say aye.
Yes, you.
We don't need to sign anything for
Approval.
I put it up there.
Okay.
It's on your.
Oh, the letter.
Yeah.
I think I need to sign that one.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That's all I have tonight on it right now. We did kind of change the date on the progress meetings to, I believe it's the Tuesday before your meetings, it's like the first Tuesday.
Oh,
of the
yes.
month.
I do remember seeing that now, yeah.
I believe it's still on those first Tuesdays. Okay, so don't have any other questions right now?
Sure. Good evening. We won't bore you with the rest unless you want to hang around.
I'm gonna get back to them.
All right, we are to the clerk treasurer's report.
Oh. Student interest on Indiana is 582. Of course, with the less amount in there, we had to move it to the sewer account to pay on the project. Also, I'll let you know, I've been working with the State Board of Accounts trying to get, one of their big things is internal controls. And there's really no one to internal control me, so to speak, if that makes sense, except for the council. So I'm gonna send you something I've been working on. Well, I hate to say it's not complicated, it's just a bunch, it's just big, it's thick, you know. So I'm gonna have you start approving what it amounts to, approving the bank balance, the bank statement, the reconciliation part of it, the revenues and the expenses in one thing. Showing you went over it and checking because there's no one to check. And then next year when I put the annual report in, that'll be even less for someone to check, because if you don't know about it, then there's, what are you looking for? So I'm gonna check around, see if there's a company that I can hire just for that annual report, just to check it. Because if we're not in line with the state board of accounts, we'll have to be in. You know what else, I mean, used to be they didn't treat that too seriously, but they're very. I would just want to throw that out.
What, you're gonna email it to us?
I'm gonna get it to you. I printed everything out and I thought we'll wait till next month before we, because at the end of July, I'll pull those numbers together and I'll show you where we start and where we finish. But we've been reconciling since about last June. So it took me a while to get this numbers were sort of all over the place. You know, I like keeping checkbook, but you let it go, oh boy, you know.
Right.
County still have trouble. County treasurer's office has been, I don't know if they got it fixed now, but for 15, 20 years, even back before Shelby Muir was or so, you know, so it's, of course, it's a lot bigger.
Mhm.
But just to say, you know, we finally got it corralled, but I'm gonna send you all that. So, just on that.
Sure, sounds good. Street department, Tim, Roy, you guys got anything? Questions, requests?
I've been cleaning out some alleys, got some rock delivered today. As soon as we get the plates on that other truck, we'll probably go get some like the cold patch, fix a few holes that are here and there.
You talked about the one that came from the county?
Yeah,
Okay.
Were there any projects started last month? Anything that was big in town that got finished or that might still be in the works since we're
I would,
report from last month? So anything got started last month?
when we dug up that hole over on Jefferson Street,
What was the cause of that?
I guess it's still an unsolved mystery, I don't know. I said it was the water line leaking, but they said it wasn't. But I guess we'll see.
Talking about behind the apartments there, or?
We're across from the funeral home right there, there, Jefferson.
Do we turn work orders into you through here? That you guys go out and complete
I
Yes.
for that?
Yes.
started that the last few months, and I've got all their work orders. I made up a paper for them and who the complaint was, what the complaint was, when they pick it up, when they turn it off, what the results were.
Are we
So
tracking?
I always have those in a folder in there, and you can see them anytime.
Are we tracking? Is that something that either the street department will give or you will give on the number of work orders that were assigned last month and completed? And see, you know, because if we have, say, in June, we have 78 work orders,
I
and
can
in
actually
July,
go grab them
there's
right
7,
now. I can go get them, I got them in a folder.
just for future reference.
Yeah,
Be something good to report on.
maybe I need to start giving you copies of them, and then you can present them in your part.
Yeah, too.
Appreciate you guys getting on that, the limbs hanging in front of the stop sign where a young lady got pulled over because she couldn't see it.
Yeah, well, we're gonna cut some more off of it whenever they're not open. But, yeah, we got all we could at that point in time.
Oh, you can see it as soon as you come off the highway now. So
We're working on some other places that got limbs in front of it, but yeah, we're working on it.
anything else? Okay. Utilities report?
Been busy, I don't know that we can get any busier in there. I'm gonna talk real quickly on May, when we get payments through EFT, so debit, credit, e-checks. And I'm gonna put this out there live because I really messed up. Whenever I printed the EFTs, from the computer, I always take the sheets and then I will go in and use those sheets to enter them into to their payments. so I transfer them there to there. Well, my dumb printer printed front and back out of the blue. And I'm just tracking along down there through the front page and lay my paper down, and the next page, go all the way through, 3 pages. And then I started getting calls in May, and yet today, that I forgot to turn the page over. So from like May the 8th to about May the 13th, and I've gone through, thought I caught them all, but evidently there's a few that stopped by. So first, I want to apologize for that, if it's upset anybody, but it won't happen again, I guarantee you. But in our letters, we're still bringing in a little bit of money, but we are getting ready to do the lien process, because some just ignore us. So at least we'll get the lien on there before they sell the property, and then we don't have a leg to stand on. So I'll get those liens out by the end of this month. My help's on vacation this week, and, so appreciate, again, everybody having some help in there. That's all.
All right. Jacob, are you ready?
Yeah. In June, we had 252 incidents, and 518 man hours of work. There were 34 tickets, 125 warnings, made 6 arrests, had 10 new criminal cases. Of those arrests, 3 of those were drug related. One was a fraud arrest that was worked in conjunction with a sheriff's office in California, and they had 2 warrant arrests as well. Still going to be holding the Junior Police Academy on the 19th. You're closing on the 10th, right?
Yeah.
So, on the 10th will be the last day that people can register to come to it. 8 is 8 to 12, right? 8 to 12. 8 to 12. We're going to have a canine demo. Area Vac's going to come land. It's going to be like an obstacle course, a drone demo. One of our reserves is going to be tased in front of the kids as a demo. Looking forward to that myself. And then we're also going to do like a presentation kind of walking through the career of law enforcement as well. I got to talk to some of the chiefs at the parade, and the discussion is that it might go multi-agency next year and go more than one day. We're doing a raffle currently. It's on our Facebook page. It's 2 donated firearms. They were initially donated for one of our part-time officers whose child was sick, and there was so much of an outpouring that she didn't need it, so she decided to essentially donate those back, and we're going to start a community assistance fund off of the money from that raffle. There's 100 tickets being sold at $20 a pop, and we're pulling 2 winners, so it's a 1 in 50 chance that you'll win. So, since we're halfway through the year, I done a look at kind of where my budget's at. The main thing is a massive variant each year is fuel. Just so you guys are aware, just to give you kind of some numbers to think about. So the Black Explorer in the month of June got 12.22 miles a gallon. It's a twin turbo V6 police car. The F-150 got 19.6 miles a gallon as a V8 pickup truck. So, but in looking at it, it shows me kind of like how much we pay for each transaction. I called Jason and kind of was discussing with him, and he's been able to make contact with the Worthington Food Mart.
Sunny, yeah, I think you're right.
And they're gonna be possibly doing an agreement with us that they're gonna be doing a discount.
He said he would.
So.
I see the paint removal didn't start on Monday like he had told me.
Yeah.
But I hadn't heard from him for a reason, but.
Yeah, so that'll be huge, especially moving forward on our fuel. So we're way under where we usually are. I mean, we average around 14, 15. I think every budget I've done so far since I've been here, I made it 17, just to make sure we were good in case there was some weird fluctuation of, price increase. Everything else, I think Matt can attest, we're pretty much on track for where we're at for the year. I was approached by think somebody talked to Rini maybe about the park. Wasn't there someone talking about the park and?
Yes,
Okay, so somebody approached Rini and then someone approached me about, like what we can do to help security of the park. So the cameras that we put up down for the dump and everything down there, those are working amazing. I would like the permission of the town board, since it's technically owned by the county. I would want to discuss it with the park board eventually, but if we put internet down there for the sole purpose of our cameras and secure it so that it is only for our cameras, it's $50 a month through T-Mobile. Once the guy done his job, it's actually super easy to set up. The camera, there'd be a 4-pack that we would kind of set up strategically in the park. $280 a year for the subscriptions for the cloud storage and all of that, and then the 4-pack of cameras with the control bases 3 or 4 weeks. So pretty minimal, and it adds security cameras. I mean, there's a massive amount of people that walk in the park. I mean, the amount of kids that are down there, and the goal would be able to get the entrance to the park, that main parking area of the park, and then something over by the playground. So that would be the goal for the cameras. If we decide, or they decide they want to expand, the internet would be there to do a Wi-Fi booster and be able to cover the rest of the park. But that would be the initial first.
Do they still close the gates of the park at a certain time frame at night anymore?
I've never closed the gates.
What's the issue as far as there being mischief, there's a vandalism?
So the one issue that was brought up is somebody came down and they're just like dumping their yard clippings at the park. Like there's people just dumping their stuff at the park, and I think that,
you're really upset. Joanne,
yeah, like,
she said they had just cleaned the park up, got all the stuff out, and she knows who did it because they were actually trimming their bushes and stuff. And it was their bushes that was dumped behind our shelter house.
and I know we have an issue with people that are using the dumpster there for the personal dumpster as well. But there was I have to be sensitive about information about this. So there's been a concern about an individual who frequents the park. The individual is currently involved in some situations that are making people uneasy, and it was brought up to me that this was going on. This is a way that people can feel more secure, us to be able to have a grip on what's going on. Same way with what happened out at the garden park, like being able to see what happens, it gives us all the power in the world to do something about it. Like the person that flies through the park, we can do something about that.
Right.
Assuming we have video evidence of you doing it, that's stupid, we can come take care of it. Somebody does something else to take care of the park, we're able to take care of it. Reenie's own family had an incident with a suspicious individual trying to play with her granddaughter at the park. Like having that ability to see that would be
Oh, yeah, I'm not
monumental.
against it by any
So,
means.
but yeah, to say that there's been like a vandalism complaint, I could see that.
I just was curious.
It was more, both of these were gonna be being brought up. I mean, I just think that's a pretty simple solution to a problem. So,
And
Yeah.
then also, if the park board is going to have to start doing their meetings, if you would have a way to do them live down there as well.
yeah, we could add a camera inside. We'd probably need to do something, maybe we can do something like this, but we can hook them up with that. Plus, the internet would allow them to stream that, right?
Right.
They can go over this. So if you guys are good with that, anybody object to it?
Those money is very good things.
I don't think-
I mean, really, the
It's not much money, but do we need to vote?
I don't think you need one, you can make them.
I don't think so, because the park board would pay, it come out of the park fund, and they really not.
If the park
It's
is
not
worried
part
about
of their budget.
if the park's worried about the internet, like if that's a breaking situation, I'll find somewhere for it. I'll find somewhere to try to get it on.
So it's what, $30 a month, you said?
It's 600 a year.
Not a problem in their budget.
Okay. So I mean, I think, and that doesn't go up, the only thing that would go up is the more cameras we add, it's like $70 a month. Or $70 a year. Right.
Yeah, you said 280 for the
Yeah,
full.
yeah.
Is it the same camera we use?
Yep, it's actually, those things are great. They are. Zero wires, they're fantastic. So the other thing is the, adding the third full-time officer. So, Matt kind of figured out what it would cost for the rest of 2025, and that totals $21,000. the ability to split it like we currently do, we couldn't do that right now. But with the way that we've done the budget this year, we have the ability to just get an additional appropriation and just cover that out of the general fund. It's extremely simple to do. And then we would go back to splitting that in 2026, however we need to do it to make it work. The benefits of that are, let me give you guys a schedule here. So the benefits is, for probably the first time that this town's ever seen, we'd be able to give 24-hour emergency coverage. So I'm gonna show you guys this, you guys can pass it around. That's what August would look like. The way it would work, and I explained it in the last meeting, but I'll let everybody else know since we're now live too. The deputy marshals would work 4 on, 4 off. Their hours would kind of fluctuate based on what day of the week that it is, so that we're not just having guys out for no reason. Any emergency call for service, between the time the officer marks off and the time that the next officer marks on, the officer that just marked off will be on call. So you should not ever get told by dispatch again, there's no Worthington officer on duty. That should never be a statement said, you have it, I can tell by your face. Yeah. So you won't get that again, and if you get that again and this passes, you'll just call and leave me a voicemail. Or call me, I'll handle it. So they'll be on, no matter what the emergency is, there'll be an officer to respond that's from Worthington. You're not waiting on a county dispatcher. Both of the deputy marshals live in town. So that's a big plus. The other side of that too is the way that we'll overlap a couple hours during the day. If an officer does get called out at night, we're gonna be able to flex those hours off at the beginning of the following shift, so that we're not accruing comp time. So that keeps that down, which has been an issue in the past. So finding the staffing for that won't be an issue. We have a full-time officer who's currently putting in arguably the most hours and the most work. That's Caleb Gray, who's in the back of the room. If it would be passed, I would ask that in the same motion we just approved hiring Caleb. He's worked here before. He's currently my evidence tech. He does everything for that. And again, the split, I think Matt showed it in the paperwork. I think that we would have to tweak that just a touch, but it's fundable. And the complaints that we get of, well, there's not enough covers, there's not enough this, there's not enough that, it eliminates that problem. Because there's literally going to be someone available at any given time. The patrol times are based off of call data. So,
Can I interject?
Yeah.
I was looking back at the general fund because it's always the most important fund you have in the big picture, county, state, local government. Well, the fund balance at the end of June, halfway point, going back to 23, because this is after we received the settlement funds, if you saw that. In 23, June 30, it was about 109,000. Last year was 177, and this year it's 254. So each year, and this is mostly because of public safety, which was a hot button for some folks, but it's helped pull a lot of his expenses, really a good bit of them, probably the majority, out of public safety, and the general fund is growing because of that. So 26,000 or 21,000, sorry, still would leave a buffer of 50-some thousand. At the end of the year, we'll probably be farther along from that. Just not, if you see what I'm saying, it means 77,000 year to date, June 30 last year to this year, and 21 out of that, and you're still up 55,000. And we've been spending a little bit less. We've been trying to spend less stuff where we're at, trying to make other things work, stuff like that.
when it comes to general, the only thing that the town pays out of general is part of our salaries. There's no other operating expenses period that come out of general. We operate solely out of PS slip. And then part of that is also salary.
And it runs about right at, got a supplemental, which Bob did more there. The PS lit runs about, they spend about what they get, which is needed,
We generally, like last year, I think we rolled $8,000. This year,
Right now, you're a little farther above that right now.
yeah, we're pretty ahead.
20 something.
Yeah, we're set pretty decent. So,
Well, budget's kind of one of those things that you can spend it to, I mean, can't estimate.
so ours is an unappropriated fund. That's the per the PS slip, we don't have to ask to keep it. So it just stays and rolls over. Yep. That's one of the perks of having that buffer in PS slip and not draining it. We can only keep 5%.
PS Lit may be like that. I don't know.
PS slip's good, I'm saying general fund, we can only keep like, what is it, 5 or 15%?
Well,
There's a limit to the rollover in general. There's no limit in PS Lit. If we
Yeah,
spent $0 of PS Lit, that rolls.
I personally don't know that because I've never known of any rule about, now it may affect your funding, tax funding, because, oh, you got this much, so we don't have to tax it as much. That would be the thing.
Yeah.
But just as far as,
I know like Jasonville, like, they short spend theirs, like they don't overly indulge out of PS Lit. They also have a very hefty utility, so they're able to push that back, and they've been able to accrue enough money in the PS Lit that whenever they purchase a new vehicle, they just buy a new vehicle. Like they don't, it's not using USDA grants or anything like that anymore. Like they just go buy a vehicle, pay cash for the whole thing, which is huge.
but the general fund is helping, that's.
Yeah. So ultimately, what I'm asking for is a motion to bring the third full-time officer back, that officer being Caleb Bray, and with the funding coming from an additional appropriation for the year, and then the split being whatever's decided on for next year.
When do we get our budget figured out? So we're gonna go over it Thursday, right?
Well, Thursday, we're gonna, it's called a pre-budget hearing. Basically, I'm gonna go through each line if you want to, or as far as you want to.
I'll go with it.
You know, yeah, I'm just saying, we'll go through what's needed and what we're requesting, you know, the raises. I think I explained to you where I was thinking on that from last year, that I'm requesting and, all that kind of stuff. But just to go through those, it'd probably take a few hours. But I also wanted to go over the appropriations, the idea of appropriations against mother, because they're not the same thing.
Yeah. Well,
So
so through you said 21 grand through the end of the year?
so essentially what I'm saying,
Well,
Or is
so-
that actual?
It's not exactly,
it's,
that's the wages. Now, a full-time deputy marshal is also per, health insurance.
per health insurance, Medicare, Medicaid.
And what happened, yeah, that well, the thing on their side, the Medicaid and Medicare and the federal on their side it comes out of their check.
Yeah.
But the county does match FICA and Medicare, plus quite a bit on PERF. You know, the employee, even county does the same amount, 3% the employee puts in, 11.2 is what the taxing unit, or in this case, the town would put in. So when you throw it all together, I mean, we figured that out. I mean, it's about 80,000 altogether in a year.
For a full year.
If for a full year, 75 acres.
That's not percent.
I may be a little heavy, but
That's
those have to be paid out. I mean,
the,
you know,
essentially what I'm asking for is he would come in making what Jeremy makes currently. And all of his pay would be additional appropriation covered. And then whatever's determined in the budget for what the pay for anyone to be next year would just be approved, and the split would be approved at that point. This is just to add him in where Jeremy's at. It's all just paid with the additional appropriation in general. And then as we sit down for the budget, then it's the discussion of what level of raise, if any, will be given in that, and then we'll adjust the split for that position, because that third position will be split different. It won't be even. It won't be the same as what Jeremy said. It'll have to be split heavier PS split.
the second
Or lighter
tab,
PS split.
the second tab, I think I highlighted in dark green or something, showing what it would be. I mean, one you have to add to, like the health insurance. Health insurance is about $6,000 a year per employee right now. So I mean, stuff like that. And it'll go up 10% next year. It's been going up 10% the last 7 years.
So if the general fund can help with that's, and I'm gonna we've done the numbers on the PS split as well, on where I can trim out to make sure we can supplement his funding as well out of PS split, so it's not such a hard hit on general. So we've Matt and I both worked that split out. We just can't split it this year because those are funds that have already been spent for this year.
Yeah.
So we're happy.
And there, there's different things about the way that it's been a big thing. I think it's House Bill 101 or something with regard to property taxes. That's gonna throw a wrench in a lot of stuff. But I don't see the income taxes really going. They've been going up about 4% a year, so that's good. The property tax side, if you heard anything about that, that is a big old mess, Governor Braun. No offense to Governor Braun. But some of the things they're doing, then you have to have the funding somewhere. If you want something done like roads and streets, you gotta pay for it from something, so. I don't, I'm sure there's a reason why they do it.
I feel like the opposition is inevitable, so I'll make a motion.
Well, hold on, I got a question before we do that. So I understand and I get how second shift is not gonna be interrupted very much, and if it is, it's stuff happens. You know, somebody gets sick, whatever, and we have part-time, we have reserves to cover that, what about the day shift?
So the day shift will just be covered the exact same way.
But there's only one.
Right.
No,
Like you're talking the second shift on Friday, on
I'm
Saturday,
not
and
talking about
Sunday?
the marshal,
The day shift on Saturday and Sunday?
no, Monday through Friday.
Yeah, we cover it just like there would be gaps and others, if we have to.
Okay.
So you guys see the times, right?
I don't know
That's,
what it was.
that's why we're so adjusted down, because the call times, we're adjusting those to make sure we're covering everything. It gives them the ability to be in and us have an overlap, so there's communication between worker and me on a daily basis. And also gives either of us time, like if they need to sit down and have 2 hours where they're not going to have to take a call, then I've got it. And if I need that time, then they've got it.
Okay.
And it also puts me in here early enough that if there's something I need to take care of, I can, but it also, school requirement. I can get to the school during school hours as well. That's why you see that going forward. Because I know that whenever John was in here, he was talking about how some of the work time speeding is between 6 and 7. So it would give me the ability to address some of those problems as well.
If you make a motion, I'd like to separate both the employee and when he's gonna start.
Yeah.
And then separately, the additional appropriation to pay.
Yeah.
You don't want to put it.
Do I have a motion for additional appropriations for a full-time deputy?
I'll make a motion for that.
Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
All in favor, say aye. Well, but we have a proof for you guys too, that you're putting it on there. So,
Yeah, now we need the additional appropriation. We just approved it.
Do you have a motion for the appropriation?
Yeah.
I'll make the motion.
I'll give it to you guys.
I still can see the contract there.
do I have a second for the additional appropriations?
I'll make it.
If you don't care, I'll.
Hey, there was nobody there at the morning, so,
Yeah.
Justin first, she'll be second.
Yes.
Everyone in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anything else from the police department?
No, you didn't specify start date, right? Where everyone's going to start.
We did not.
I don't think we don't need a specific.
Well, it's just, I got enough.
I will let you know.
Yeah, it's always best at the first of the pay period, is however you want.
Yeah, I'll look at the paper.
You know, or CPT anyway. Or is he possible?
No, he's part-time.
Part-time, that's right, I just paid,
So soon, and be.
I just worked. Yeah, I just write stuff
So,
down.
hang on one second, sorry, 1 second, there's one thing we have to address. So, in doing this, you need to be thinking about, so for the rest of the year, because we're funding this out of general and we're funding it with an additional appropriation, part-time will exist for the rest of this year. I think, one, that's also, it's fair to the guys that donated their time, or dedicated their time to work. So that will exist. I would like to use it as a trial period, so that we can see how much they're even do going full-time. I would love it if we could get to where we are able to find the money to fund 2 shifts a month. Like, that would be great. If not, then obviously the part-time would drop off. That is,
How many reserves are you know expected to maintain?
All, I would lose in reserves.
How many is that, sir? How about the reserves that regularly,
Reserves that regularly work,
there you go.
one of the guys that's part-time said that he will stay even if I drop part-time as a reserve. So what, three, four of the reserve staff, which is the majority,
That come.
that come and work in. The one is just the chamber, he's active, he said he would stay if that does end. If we can find it, it's like, I think it's $5,000, is what it is for 2 shifts a year, 2 shifts a month. So I would think, to me, it'd be better to leave that in general. That way, if we don't use it, it can just be flexed to help cover something else rather than it just sitting in PS list. So it's a smarter move to have that in general, because if we don't use it, when he goes to zero, that'll help cover another fund. So helps a lot line items. So just be thinking of that, but. Okay, that's all I have. Sorry.
Roy, did you have a question earlier?
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
I think it's great that we're getting another officer, but is that gonna affect my raise this year like it has in the past? I mean, because the excuse was we didn't have the money for a decent raise, but if we've got the money to hire another person,
I would
Is
say
that
we
gonna
treat
affect
those two things
the
as
peanuts
completely
that I
separate
get?
entities.
Yeah.
Those should be treated as completely separate funded entities moving forward. I wasn't here for that last one, but yeah, I would think that needs to
So
go
that comes out of his lip, right?
part of it.
So there's a.
it's coming from general fund though, and that's where some of my wages comes from. If there hasn't been enough in the past to give me a decent raise, how is there gonna be enough after hiring a full-time person and give me a decent raise?
The fact that, the key to the whole thing to me is public safety. Because when the town brought that back to the police department, see, last year from 24 to 25, everybody received a 7% raise. One of the board members had mentioned that he had been to other police departments and it was about 15%. And what I tried to do, I'll just tell you what I tried to do, and if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But we were talking about half this year, half for 25, and half for 26. So what I did when I sent the council this last spreadsheet for 2026 was a 7%. So it would equal to 14%, which is within percent of what he was thinking.
Well, okay, now that's what I was at one time, the two departments, they made the same,
Okay.
within pennies, but it's not that way now. One department has jumped 10, 15,000 compared to the other department.
Okay, not since I've been here. I mean, because this is a one.
Since I've been here.
It should be. I don't know that.
So I'm just curious, I mean,
It's a fair question. The thing to remember though is they did not give us the raise last time because they couldn't afford it. They chose not to give the raise last time. Not because they couldn't afford it, they just chose not to give it. It wasn't because they couldn't afford it. The choice was made not to give that one. Because there was support lost in the town.
did I not do a good enough job for them then, apparently? If that's what you're saying.
There wasn't a statement made last time that we couldn't afford it, if I remember right.
I wasn't here when that was. Mine was last.
That's what I'm talking about. The most recent one is one I'm talking about.
That's one.
Oh,
I were involved with, or the three of us.
that's what I know. I just remember they talked about having it. Remember Dustin brought it up? I thought that's a good idea.
Yeah.
So that's what I was thinking.
So they, instead of giving it all to us at once, they stepped it into two.
Right.
That's what, instead of giving us the big raise the last time, they broke it into 2 years, is essentially what they did.
I think that.
The raise we asked for at the meeting last year, they, instead of giving it to us at once, they broke it into 2, is what they done. It wasn't that they couldn't afford it, they just chose to not give it to us all in one jump because that was too big of a jump, is what was said. So,
But it was a decent raise going into 2025. It was 4.5% more than what I got in my employment.
Well, in the comparison, because there's websites where you can pull up what other townships, other city municipalities and stuff like that pay their street department supervisors, superintendents, certified people who run the certified portions of the sewer department, and you can see what they all make.
There's a website called Gateway. It's the transparency portal of Indiana. Anybody can go on. And you can go to any city, any township. You can, fire department, does not matter. And you can see what the guy that does what you do makes.
They run about a year behind on updating it.
Well, I mean, trust me, I'm the one that does it. So, I mean, it was for like the county, the budgets you put in, and usually you have to have them in September, you have to have them approved and not approved by sometime in October. So if you would look in like November especially, you'll know what they make next year. And if you, like, and what I did for the county, when I was trying to help, along with some others, the county get raises, not just police department, which I very much respect, but everybody. I looked at the counties our size, and we were the lowest paid, I think, of 10 counties that had between 30 and 35,000 folks. And we were the lowest, and we fought like the did to help, like I said, a lot of other people were involved in it, to get those raises up. And I'm trying to, going off what one of the councilmen said last year about that 15%, I try to hold them to that, you know? So it's, to me, if you, like say, come November, I mean, now you can even look from last year to this year what it is. I would look at someone our size. I mean, think of a city our size. I don't, Masonville wouldn't be fair. Bloomfield wouldn't be fair either, really. But if you think about places about 1,000 to 500, and see what the sewer guys make. Now, one thing that makes a difference, which really is fair, if they have 3 and you've got 2, to me, that's not a fair comparison, but it'll give you an idea. But it's just Gateway, I don't even know what the name of it, it'll say Indiana Transparency Portal. You can flip through there, you can see everything, you can see it. So, I've done that. So back to my original question, is there still gonna be enough money in this? I have to say, you're talking I don't, you know, things that are sort of negative, I block out, so I don't really remember this other deal. But I remember the 15%, and I remember as a whole, they did,
I can show you.
as a whole, they did 7. And what I thought was, you know, they talked about giving the rest of it, of course, I went 7, did think it 7 and 7. I think that was the idea, that it'd take 2 years to get to that one. And I do agree they had the money, the general fund keeps growing because of PS led mostly. I thought about that all day long.
Whole business.
Yeah, we're okay, Lord.
So, yeah.
What is
Whole business.
Yes. All right, we're at old business now. I have one line item here for that. That's the park board and instrument building restoration.
Yeah.
You're looking to,
Aye.
2 quotes, yes, please explain to anybody here.
Yeah, these are 2 separate things that just come under the park. Been a lot of changes on the park board right now. Officially, we have 1 member, which is Teresa Parks. We've had, you know, Cal being just not doing well for a while now. Because he ran it for decades. I mean, but all that to say, start with the park board. We have 1 member, that's Teresa Sparks. I think you have to have 4.
4 members.
Reenie's done the research on this, and I know, Teresa talked to Jason, and Jason really wants to be on it. He has someone he knows, family maybe. I think we should just get those 3 folks in there tonight, and get that board meeting. Cause like, you know, last few years, people get older, you don't feel like fuck with that stuff, you know? But anyway, I think I'd like to get those 3 members voted on and have them meet, you know, just have Jason, since he runs everything else, bless God. Maybe get them together and just meet and get yourself a sheriff person like Hal was. And then I can help them with their budget and stuff like that. But I think we need to get, if you can get 3 on there tonight, it'd be great, because all kinds of people will want to be on.
Yeah.
It does our.
Go ahead.
If you're on this, yeah, go ahead.
I think Matt spoke last month about wanting to be on it, and I think he would be an excellent, person on the board. He didn't speak for himself, he's speaking for others, but I'm speaking for him, that I think he would be an excellent board member. So if you're going to vote for 3, you know, maybe you could.
Well, we did find out, Rennie did the research, so there's 4 board members for the park, and 2 have to be Republican and 2 have to be Democrat.
Okay, well, I don't know his party, but, you know.
Right, so,
I know Teresa's party.
yeah, I do too.
What I was telling Jason about earlier, though, like when Hal was on it, Hal didn't have a job, he retired. he didn't have a job, he worked all the time, but I was able to call him if somebody would have a concern or something was going on at the building. I could call him and say how the toilet's running over, and he would go down and check it, and if it was something more than what he could do, he would give me a call back, and I would call Brian or whoever that needed to go fix it. So having somebody that's handy, that can do that stuff work, would be great on the board. You know, and it saves money as well, so that's just my input.
Is anybody here interested in maybe being on board? I mean, we actually thought about putting up a sheet and just saying,
Was it retained? Would you have to get anyone?
just,
It's required to have a meeting every 3 months.
They go over the budget?
Yes,
It's gotta be,
That'd be one thing.
budget, improvement
Any concerns?
requests, concerns. We're gonna start handling the concerns of security at the park now, they got approved, so that portion will be done, but
but we thought, well, you know, to make it fair to everyone. That, maybe let Brady put up a list. Since the reason is mainly because 2 Democrat, 2 Republican, you know. So it's gonna be like, okay, we got 4 Democrats that want on, well, we gotta have a couple others, so you know, here we are. We've got a lot of people interested, or send it like to be, but.
My biggest thing about trying to come on, if I do that, is small town politics. It's who you know and who gets on. And I don't play that. You know, I'm there to serve the community and not play. He, she.
make sure the taxpayers' money
Correct.
gets spent wisely.
Correct. You know, none of my family lives in Worthington, my son, that's it. But he's adjacent, so he's not even in Worthington. So,
And you are,
and I live in Worthington, yes, yes. I live in the senior apartments.
oh,
Yeah.
So you wanna try to get a couple on tonight? I know Jason's interested in ours. And your niece, is she in our family?
she is.
Take care of me.
but wait a minute, because it says, what is it? It says, a city board consists of 4 members to be appointed by the city executive. The members shall be appointed on the basis of their interest and knowledge of the parks and recreation, but no more than 2 members to be affiliated with the same political party. In addition, the creating ordinance may provide for 1 or 2 ex officio or whatever members, those being a member from the governing body of the school corporation, a member of the governing body of the library district, or both subdivisions 1 and 2. So Teresa's on the library board, isn't she? So could,
Well, the thing is, you've already got 2 Democrats.
yeah,
You're gonna have hopefully 2 Republicans.
it doesn't matter on with that other.
Well, I was gonna say, if it doesn't matter, you still have to have 2 Democrats.
You do have to.
You might as well count for
Right.
Democrat,
Yeah,
you know? I mean, even if you had 4 members, I don't care if at least help them talk about their funds. I mean, I'll be glad to show up and talk about that.
Yeah, we don't have to appoint my niece.
Yeah.
We can figure that part out. Nobody had been approaching me about serving on the board at the park. I volunteered. But I was just thinking she's young, she's got young kids. You know,
That would be a good
it's
idea.
just not
Yeah.
people in their 70s on there making.
Well, you know, I've got park experience, and what I would like to see, we just propose, is everyone who wants to be on there comes up to you.
You wanna be on the park board, Jeanette?
What?
You wanna be on the park board?
I guess, if they.
Now, Jeanette and Keith, if you ever in any park during like the time, you're gonna see one of them.
Oh, yeah, sure.
They,
That's why I was here, but yeah.
I'm not saying you want to be, I was just trying to go time.
That's the conversation we're having right now.
Yeah.
With the,
We give everybody an opportunity to sign up.
Can't do that, just.
I'm with that too.
Do we know why?
We
So we're gonna, out of the list that signs up from, there's 30 people on this list.
Yeah.
We get to select 4,
I'm not going.
2 and 2. Assuming
Yeah,
that's-
you're gonna have to,
You have to have two and two, and if there's ex officio or whatever, extra members or whatever, I
I know
don't think
there's
that.
one guy I wanna call and make sure, because he's mentioned it. There's a building dedicated to his family, and I know Kirk personally, he does a lot of handyman work, and he's retired, so.
It's whatever you want to do. You want to do that?
They moved it.
Yeah, let's hold off.
But no, they
for
approved
now.
by
Have a
campus.
game plan. A little better.
I'll post something on the page and on the citizens page, you know, you have vacancies in the park and
then can they come to you?
yeah, they can,
Okay.
put
You
that
might,
there.
you might even get what, how they feel qualified to be on it.
Right, right.
Exactly.
It wouldn't hurt to have some knowledge,
Sure,
sure.
that would be your questions, that would be good to ask.
Yeah.
Ones
I don't think you should do it tonight.
No, we're not
we
going
agree.
to.
Okay, well,
Thank you.
The second thing is the Hampton building, and had two calls. One was from 1-800 water damage. Has heat, cooling included, so if you take heating and cooling out, because the other one didn't have it. Their quote is around 9,100, and Serv Pro is around 81, 82. And it's Greek to me. I can read blueprints and stuff like that. I have no idea what they're doing. They're all over the place. But Serv Pro, I know, this Serv Pro out of Worthington has good ratings. I think the other one had good ratings. They're at Washington, 1-800 water damage. But I would like permission to just get it going, because the longer we wait,
Yeah. No, I agree.
you know, a park
The
board,
parks lose it money, because I can rent them over and over again.
we do have 24,000 plus sitting in that fund that is only for that. That's what that means. And if the restorations, so that's the base, that's the immediate thing, to get it, all that crap.
We have a quote for the heating and air since Serv Pro didn't have
Well,
one included in their bid.
What this company did, is I took off, it was 1,500, they threw out 1,500. I took that off when I gave you that number from 1-800. And I figured we know somebody who does that, I don't know what he charges, but we know somebody.
I would be probably some Serv Pro, I think some further things.
They seem to be very, the ones I said everything was 4.9 or 4.8. So if you let me do that, I'll just move on.
Yeah.
I'd like to
get done sooner than
That's the
later.
main thing, that's the one that takes a little bit of time to do. Now, if you want to vote to approve Serv Pro, I mean, that's purely, that's, okay. I'll contact both companies and let them know what.
New business, anybody have hearing?
Yeah, that's Thursday.
Budget hearings for Thursday?
Yeah.
Yes. Like 5, 6?
Well, I had it for 6, and I can change it, it's whatever you want to do.
This is coming Thursday.
It's coming Thursday, because it's, no way getting around that one, it'll last.
I'm covering a second shift for somebody on vacation.
I
Oh.
believe you're going to say.
Shoot,
But you will make-
did Darla send that to you?
No.
Oh, Darla's gonna send it out.
Oh.
What are we talking about?
Hang on,
Okay,
we need to do something real quick.
we're not talking about the weather, but.
No. So I talked to Darla, and as long as there is a quorum, if you choose to elect a policy that permits electronic attendance, as long as there is a quorum in attendance, you could still attend the meeting, interject and vote via remote, like through Zoom. So, and I think, technically, there's no different in him making statements, like you could still make statements and ask questions. You just wouldn't be able to vote even on Thursday. So, and it's not really a voting thing, anything.
No,
It's an
not
informational
everybody.
meeting.
It's getting you acquainted with the budget.
So if you want, I can set that up for Zoom if you're able to view it.
Yeah, I should be able to. I always have my laptop with me. I'm not real familiar with Zoom. We use Teams, but I'm sure
I can
it's
probably-
very similar.
Yeah, I can send it to you. But Darla just needed the permission to draft that policy. So if you guys are good with her doing that, I'll let her know to go ahead and draft it.
Yeah.
So
So will that cover across the board when this were to happen again in the future, or does
Any
she have to
meetings.
draft that policy? For
no,
each?
it's across the board. So any meeting like if you're in Florida or something, you can attend that meeting as long as there is a quorum present. The other two members can, or one member. No, you can. Like you are,
Okay.
yeah, you're fully engaged in the meeting
You
at that
just have
point.
to have a quorum present.
You have to have a quorum present.
Right.
So,
It'll be 3 years.
yeah, and ultimately what would happen is you would be displayed on the screen real big. So,
I should have been about that.
yeah.
That one up there?
Oh, yeah, yep.
He did bring up, when he said Darla, I thought he was on that something else. She did send out a second round of letters.
Yes.
And I,
We got a date on there this time?
yeah,
yeah.
we supposed to put a 30
Yeah.
day,
Yeah.
date.
Yep.
And I'm hoping and praying.
Well, I drove by over there, there's progress going on, so that's pretty awesome.
Leaders.
Yeah.
That's what we're supposed to do. But anyway,
He drew right here.
And
It's my, yeah,
they're moving, well, they got,
now,
there's some people that are showing now.
yeah, someone's showing up.
All right, number 12, I'll say something real quick. I've had complaints about talking with the citizens at the end of the meeting if they wanted to great links. Well, I think the citizens and the taxpayers deserve to have to talk. So we do have a process of doing that where you get put on the agenda through town hall. But that being said, if anybody has any issues, we will allow you a few minutes to say something.
I'd like to say something. With the police department, I'm very happy you're getting a third officer. I did move from Indianapolis, which is, as you know, a rough area. I was a cop up in there. I came down here, I live in the senior apartments. There is so much dope coming out of those senior apartments that it is sickening, okay? When I ask to have extra patrols or, try to get in there, it's not, they're doing their right thing, but something's being said, you can't survey or you can't do this. Now, that may be hearsay, that's not from the police department, that's hearsay from the community. Something has to be done. I mean, we've got seniors, I'm probably one of the younger ones, but when you're dealing dope up there, and you're dealing meth, and you're dealing crack, we've got a problem here, And I pay taxes too, so my word should be, just as gold as anybody else, And yes, last month I showed my ass because that woman up there pissed me off, okay? She ringed out Tammy when she didn't need to. You're gonna ring out one, you're gonna ring out all, okay? And that's not fair. So I want to apologize to the board, you three, for showing my ass last month. But enough was enough, Poor lady, we all know that she didn't have any insurance, okay? The whole town knows that she didn't have any insurance. So we're all trying to pull together to get her where she can sell it, or she can rebuild, or she can do something. So we just need to, come together as a community and not backstab. And that's with your counselor, that's with everybody. Let's not be ankle biters, Let's not, please, let's stop being orange.
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
And maybe the police department can answer this.
Oh, it's like, community.
Well, you can answer it too, you live there. So if there's a bunch of dope being dealt through the senior apartment, is it the residents there that would be on this?
It's the residents plus two people. Hold on, she's got to tell me the names. Troy Hostin.
Don't say names. That's a bad idea.
Okay.
We can have that discussion outside of here.
So yes, there is two that are frequent flyers. And yes, there is 5 in that whole plot
But
place
you
in
can
there.
be sitting, I'll go visit my aunt who's sitting in her apartment, and when the exhaust kicks on, it's coming through her house, and she's got the door shut, and she's on oxygen and everything, she doesn't wanna smell it, but they'll go out, but they'll come out and smoke the cigarettes, but they go and smoke the pot that's coming through. And there's 3 or 4 other residents have complained about it, and they're all, you can see them going back and forth across from each other, delivering them.
But my apartment complex or that complex won't do anything. They said it's the town, But somebody, you know,
There's a company that owns the apartments, and it's like.
Yes, it's called- it's a park.
Town of Worthington.
and they will not do nothing. They said it is a town problem,
Because
not
they've already
theirs.
called and complained, a bunch of them.
They do walkthrough inspections, random. Some of them are random, some of them are scheduled.
We have it
And that's
twice a year, and they know when the date is, and a little air freshener, a little, smoky, you know, stuff. It's a one. Yeah, because they can't go through your personal stuff. Yeah.
Well, now, Jacob and our other officers.
Oh, I know,
definitely-
they've done an excellent job. I have no problem with this police department.
Well, that's way they know.
But the thing is with this, I'm gonna just kind of leverage on this just a second. So based on prior meetings and statements made at prior meetings and nobody defending the fact of it, like, we have the equipment to be able to do it, but it was spoke against pretty strong and nobody spoke back against it. So yes, we have certain equipment that the board's not gonna know when we use it, because quite frankly, it doesn't matter if you know when we use it. I'm talking about the undercover vehicle is what I'm talking about. It was spoke out pretty strong against. I do believe in the recording, there was a pin thrown about the same time that it was talked about. So, I mean, we have the equipment and we have the ability to do a lot. We just have to quit having our hands tied behind our back when we try to do those things. So this is ultimately.
No, you had your hands tied on that.
Oh yeah, it was absolutely spoke about
And
pretty
I don't
strong.
even remember that.
We
couldn't use the.
Barry sent me the audio. So I mean, I still have it. I can play it back for you. But like, we have the ability to do a lot of things, and we have the training to do a lot of things. But those things sometimes aren't things that are necessarily smiled upon by the board. If I go after and I arrest somebody for possession, I want to know who dealt it to that person, because me just arresting the person for possession doesn't do anything for our town, because they're just going to deal with the neighbor. So if I go after the dealer and that takes me to work a case in Clay County, am I going to get a phone call thrown a fit because you saw a Worthington police vehicle in Clay County? Or are we going to sit here and realize the fact that sometimes our investigations lead us out of there? So if we only work the case here, we're not going to fix anything. If you don't pop off the head of the snake, you're not doing anything. And it's a constant fight. Like, this is a battle that you don't win the drug war. It just doesn't happen. It's a fun game, but you're not going to win the drug war. But if you want to make an impact on the town, you don't just pop off the guy that's using. You have to take it elsewhere. And 90% of the time, that's going to take us to somewhere outside of Worthington. Now, I'm not saying that we need to be there whenever our shift is here, but if the shift has been worked and you do the extra work on that while town's still covered, then I don't see what the issue is. Like, if the argument is, why is our tax dollars paying for fuel of the vehicle whenever the fuel in that vehicle's in anywhere else? But the problem is everyone wants to complain about, oh, well, you're spending tax dollars here. Okay, let's not criticize that as much as maybe just be like, why? And whenever I'm working an investigation that started or directly impacts the town of Worthington, that's what our tax dollars are for. It would be different if we're chasing down people who done something in Sullivan and we're in Terre Haute chasing a deal. That's not necessarily smart. And I would agree with that 100%. But if it directly affects our town, there shouldn't be a sideways word being said about the investigative techniques or the money therefore going after it. Like, we have to be able to do our job. And the problem is if our guys are out there doing their jobs and their worry is, am I going to get yelled at or am I going to get in trouble from someone because someone complains? That's tying their hands.
Well, a lot of people don't know why you were there.
They don't need to know.
You
That's the problem.
Well, I know, but you gotta know.
No, they don't.
Small town.
I don't care about the small town.
Really want to know what's going on.
Hang on a second.
I know.
I want to stand on this because I do not care. What I care about is the fact that we stop the problem. If I'm going to use you as an example, if she gets mad because she saw the Black Explorer outside of town, that's ridiculous. That shouldn't happen. I don't care. As long as my guys are doing their job and they're protecting the oath that they swore to uphold,
I do not care what that citizen says. That's what I stand on. That's what you hired when you hired me. At the end of the day, I want my guys to go to do their job uninfringed.
Okay, then I think it's a good time to do it.
I appreciate that.
I think it's a great time to do it.
And I like the fact that you're
You know.
saying that with what is now every single full-time officer that works here. Like,
Thank you, Kim. Thank you for listening. I mean, that was my only thing, listening, you know,
You're welcome, but I know, I've lived here all my life, I know what's going on, I know
You know,
who's in the backyard.
I tell you what, we've got
You know,
too many
I
four
wish I
one
didn't sometimes, but
you know,
I agree.
no, on saying what Jake just said.
I agree.
That's what I meant on that.
Who's the guy that works down Bar Street all the time?
I mean, it's an open meeting. If there's a thought on it, we might as well share it now,
Sure.
in my opinion. I mean, it's an open meeting.
No, I get that, but I think they need a little bit of time. I don't think it needs to be addressed right this minute, because there's a lot there to take into think about. But now you're talking about the taxpayers' feelings, you're talking about leaving town for things, using resources here. I'm not saying I'm against it, I'm just saying I want people to have some time to.
Right. And I mean, to clarify what I'm saying, I'm not saying, what I'm getting at is I do not support the idea that if Jeremy's working a case and it's Jeremy's night to work town, that he's outside of town working a separate case. Not going to be okay. Not happening. If he's off, like he's not working his shift here, but he's following an investigation. I mean, I'm not saying that these guys are going to go to Indy. That's not what I'm saying. But I'm saying, like, if he's off and he's followed this case to Bloomfield, or he's followed this case, a lot of our dope comes out of Owen County. Like, that next step, taking it out, I'm okay with that. We don't need to be going to Atlanta. Like, we have a drug task force. That drug task force does its thing. They're extremely effective, and that's their job. My job's Worthington. So if we can just get that next step, then if we're not doing that, then we're ineffective. So, and it's not like this is an all the time thing. It's not like we're catching 15 drug cases a month. Like, we had a case that started in town, and it took 2 warrants being served on Base Road in Linton. That was just last month. The department wrote and served 5 search warrants in one day, going after meth and, well, all of it was meth, all meth related charges. But you're going to get the phone call, well, I saw a vehicle in Linton. Okay. You know what I mean? Like that happens. Like, it's literally part of their job.
Right.
Like, if you just, well, if it don't happen in Worthington, then we don't need to be going. That's ridiculous. That's not even a realistic thing to say. Like, that's not how it works. We have jurisdictions throughout the state. Again, I'm not saying that our guys need to be going to Indy. It's not what they're there for. That's why we have contacts with DEA and the U.S. Marshals. Like, worked with them on several cases. What I'm saying is, if it directly affects the town of Worthington, then a town resident saying, well, I don't like the fact that I saw that truck over there. It doesn't matter. Like, you hired us to do a job. Let us do the job. That's all I'm getting at. Like, I don't think.
Are other departments in other towns, are they lacking? Are they not looking at what prosecutors are getting sent?
So,
Questions.
Can you reword that?
If you arrest somebody here in the town of Worthington for a drug charge, it goes to the prosecuting attorney.
Correct. Yeah.
Are they not relaying that, hey, we have a problem? The information he's given us is coming from some guy in Duggar off of X amount of road, or whatever road. Is county not taking care of that? Is Duggar Police Department? If they even have a police department, I don't know.
So
These are examples.
this is the thing to remember, and most people don't know this, but if you are charged in Greene County, you're facing a problem. You get charged in Sullivan, Owen, Monroe, you're not facing that much of an issue. The thing is the dealing 90% of the time happens here. So we have to work that investigation. I'm not saying the entire investigation happens somewhere else.
Right.
I'm just saying that there are times that those things have to be done elsewhere. But what we want it to come to us ultimately. And the thing is, you have to remember too, you're talking about one officer going to deal with this. You're not taking the whole department to deal with it. The way that these systems work and the way that those kinds of investigations work is it's a multi-agency event. When I worked at Jasonville, it was not unusual for us to end up in Indy or to end up in Clay County or to end up down south. Like, happened all the time. Working any drug investigation that directly affected the town of, or the city of Jasonville, you went after it. I was personally involved in one that took down 35 people. Some of those people were in California. That was directly off of my case. So like, that's normal police work. That's what everyone's doing. The fact is, it takes more than one officer to do it. You have to be able to fall back on the resources that are allowed and afforded to you to be able to conduct those kinds of investigations. So if, and generally the case officer of the initial is who will run with it up to a certain extent. And then once he's done, he's done. But we have a task force within Greene County. It does exist. And there are two individuals that is literally their job. They're special investigators with the prosecutor's office to chase those. When it's your case, they ask for your assistance because it's only them. So you'll assist to a certain extent, and then your involvement's effectively done. But that involvement still needs to be there. I mean, I don't think that it's unreasonable for us to be able to affect that involvement. We're not trying to take this on as one. We're trying to assist the agencies that are doing this work for us as well. What I'm getting at is this constant just, oh, well, I saw someone here. And the phone call coming being like, well, we can't do that anymore. No, like, we still have a job to do. And understanding that our job is vast. Like, I think there's 800 and some things that we have to be able to do at any given moment. Like, our job requires us to not only just be stuck to the little town of Worthington. Sometimes we have to bridge to be able to affect the changes we need to.
You've gone on and on and on saying the same thing repeatedly. Now you said it, let it go and go on with the rest of the meeting.
I'm defending my guys in my department.
I know, but you've got it done it for 10 minutes.
Well, starting the next meeting, we're gonna have time allotted parts for citizen complaints and things of that nature. We've let the citizens go on and on and on as well. He's doing the same thing, and it's not okay now. So we're gonna let him finish respectfully. We're gonna respectfully let him finish and make his point, which I feel like he's done at this point.
Yeah.
Right? I don't disagree with what you're saying. I don't disagree with what you're saying. But we've allowed residents and citizens to stand up and do the exact same thing, unabridged, and let them go. We're gonna change it moving forward, but today we haven't changed it. So we're gonna respectfully allow people to speak and stand up and make their points. And
I agree, but I really thought he had made his point repeatedly, and
I just believe that he's just trying to speak that he's been knocked down. And he's just trying to defend his program, and he's absolutely right on something like that.
And so I think if he'd given us a chance to respond, instead of going on so long, we would respond to just next time let us respond.
I was simply trying to answer his question fully is what I was getting at.
It's a heated topic. Two questions.
Mhm.
You said, officer on off time. Does that mean volunteer time, or are we paying minus assets, so he'd be using assets? Are we paying his salary while he's on this detective?
You're paying his salary whether he goes out or not.
What is that?
His salary.
Yeah, we are exempt from overtime. We are exempt from overtime.
Got it.
Okay.
I followed, Jeremy's followed me to the courthouse, and I know he wasn't working that day, and he was going to handle something in Bloomfield at the courthouse.
I see you doing that just
I had another one.
Uh-huh.
Come back to me. I forgot what it was.
I interrupted you, sorry.
That's it for the agenda.
Write it down, try to get it.
Yeah, I remember.
We've covered everything?
What was it? Did you figure it out?
Nah, I can remember.
If we've covered anything, nobody has anything else moving forward, I'll make a motion to end the meeting. Or adjourn the meeting, excuse me.
I'll second that motion.
Everybody in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Oh, no, you're fine. You're fine.
After it's over.